Another episode of the People's Healing Hour on WHCR 90.3 FM radio, the voice of Harlem. I'm excited because I got a guest calling in. Very special gentleman that I admire a lot. William Padilla Brown, you might have heard of him on the fantastic Fungi film. But yeah, he's going to be calling in. We're going to have a nice little episode. But let me get this show started. There we go. There we go. Oh, baby. We'll go. No headphones today. There we go. Yeah. Boom, boom. Hold on, let me get this right here. Perfect. Now we feeling it. Meditation and breathe each week a new guest, inspire and finesse. Community focus, we rise together. Stay engaged, make moves like birds of a feather. Tune in, don't miss it. The vibe is so right. Elevate your game from morning to night. Yo, yo. What up, brother? All right, I'm gonna put you on hold for a quick second, and we'll get you on air right after the theme song, and I'll do your intro. Yes, sir. So I got my boy William Padilla Brown that's gonna hop on this radio show with me this morning. We're gonna talk about Mycofest, mushrooms, and all the things. As you can see, I got my favorite mushroom shirt on right now. My man, stay tuned on the People's Healing Hour. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Welcome to another episode of the People's Healing Hour. I am your host, known in the streets and in the clinics as the People's Herbalist, and I'm excited to be alive on another beautiful Wellness Wednesday. And today, I had the honor and the pleasure of speaking with somebody extremely valuable to our society, to our science, to our mycological systems, to our environments. Right? Today, we're honored to welcome one of the most influential voices in modern mycology, William Padilla Brown. And man, I can't tell you how important it is to have conversations with people like this. William is a multidisciplinary citizen science and environmental educator, filmmaker, entrepreneur, and founder of Mycosymbiotics and Mycofest. His work spans mycology, the study of algae as well, molecular biology, permaculture, ecological restoration, and he is, what we all love to say, a citizen scientist. All right, he authored one of the first English language cultivation books dedicated to cordyceps mushrooms. He's educated thousands of students worldwide, and his work has been featured in documentaries, including the acclaimed Fantastic Fungi. But more recently, he's expanded his research into truffles, and I know he's done a lot of work with spirulina and all kinds of things. So exploring how fungi can shape our ecosystems, our food systems, and the future of environmental regeneration. So, William, are you here with me? Can you hear me? You already know, man. I'm just so happy to have you on with me because you are one of these people that is inspiring. You know, you do things in a way that most people only think about. and you bring this to fruition. So I'm super happy to have you on with us today.
The praise every day. I can't do nothing but live my dreams. You already know.
Yes, yes. So I got a couple questions for you today. Obviously, we want to talk about what's coming up this coming weekend, Myco Fest, which is one of my favorite events every year. So before we jump into the interview questions, I want to talk a little bit about Myco Fest. What made you want to put this together? How many years has it been so far?
This will be 12. I started it. I started the first one in 2015. So this is the 12th time we've done it. And we've been doing it every summer. And yeah, I wanted to start it because I didn't really have many people to talk about this kind of stuff with when I was younger. I started engaging in, all the permaculture, ecological restoration and foraging and gardening and all this stuff. I started doing this when I was like 19. Um, so there wasn't as many people around or as many places to engage with information like this that was accessible to me. So I first started it out to make a place where people could gather that was affordable to learn about mushrooms in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region. So I figured I would get people from like Maryland to Baltimore or to New York. But it grew fast. After that first one in 2015, it just kept building up, and it did what it was supposed to do. We've been teaching people about foraging, we've been teaching people about mycology, for the last 12 years.
That's beautiful. Over a dozen years of bringing education about mushrooms and foraging and ecological sustainability. I mean, there's so many things that I've heard you talk about, and so many things are like vitally important to our society right now. But we're on the People's Healing Hour on WACR 90.3 FM radio, the voice of Harlem. So this is a Harlem-based radio station. I want you to know this is a historic radio station. 40 years has been a community radio. We are not ran by corporate overlords. We're not sponsored by Pfizer or any of that. This is really the voice of the people, bringing education to the people, and you embody that. So I thought it was more than appropriate to have you on here to highlight some of the importance of what we can do in city areas, right? I know this is one of those really important areas because this is where the bulk of the majority of our populations are. But it seems to me not a lot of people are able or have the time or energy to make it out into nature. But I feel like you and I know the values of being out in the woods. So I would ask you, what advice do you have to people that are living in the city areas? What can they do to get themselves ingrained into some healing areas?
All right, so I recommend that you learn permaculture. There's a really great guy online that you can learn it from, affordable, Matt Powers, permaculture student. That's a really great place to start. I think the concept of permaculture design and starting with like zone zero is a really great concept for people that are living in urban areas because my goal, and I think a lot of people's goal, is to get to land and community, which I think is a crazy dream because that's what we all came from, and then we let people distract us into, making money for them. Um, but yeah, we need to get back to land and community. So with that being my goal, and I think that being a lot of people's goal, it's like figure out how do we turn the energy that we have and what we have in this moment in this urban space into something more. Maybe people want to stay in their urban areas, and there's ways to beautify it and turn it into something that's more fruitful and less of a figurative desert. It seems to me in a lot of urban areas, all of the actual value and resources trapped away behind paywalls or in wires and pipes and stuff like that, and you have to pay to get access to it. It feels like a figurative desert because in nature everything's abundant, everything's free, the water's flowing, the energy is available, the food's outside. So I want to get back to being in a space like that because I feel like for my own physical body and for my own psychology, it's just a lot better if I could eat food that's growing around me and I don't have to worry about stressing in order to take care of myself. I think that's the best. And that's why I started my business off the idea that homeostasis or finding balance within yourself can only be achieved whenever you find balance with your social systems and with your ecological systems. So I think permaculture is a great place to start because You don't need to even, I didn't even graduate high school, and I was able to grasp the concepts in permaculture and utilize that as a foundation for how I live my life. I also recommend people pick up the book Toolbox for Sustainable City Life or for Sustainable City Living, and this is by Scott Kellogg and Stacy Pettigrew. If you're in New York, I definitely recommend checking out their facility in Albany, New York. It's called the Radix Center, Radix. And this is a facility where you can learn about radical urban sustainability. So this is like the 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 cutting edge of how to be sustainable in an urban system, growing your own food from restaurant waste, growing your own mushrooms from coffee grounds, keeping animals off of food scraps from the city, growing hops, growing spirulina, making your own burnable gas from compost. Like they're doing all of that over there in Albany, and I went to go learn with them when I was younger. I got a scholarship to take their regenerative urban sustainability training there. So learning these kind of techniques are going to be really helpful to be able to make the most yield from whatever it is that you have. A lot of people are like, oh, I live in an apartment, I can't grow a garden. There's always something at every level of life that you can start with, and then you can build off of that. And I recommend that you start small, especially if you only have a small space. Take the time to understand what you're working with, the systems you're working with, the organisms you try to grow, microgreens, worm farm, whatever it is that you start on a small scale. Get the time to learn it on a small scale, and then utilize the funds that is produced from that, or utilize the food that's produced from that to alleviate the amount of money that you're spending on food, or to put that money back into building up a system that can help you to detach from your dependency upon the toxic system that we've been given.
I love that. I love that. And I want to take it back for a quick second because I had a question. Someone asked, what exactly is permaculture? It's not a familiar term to a lot of people out here. Break that down for us.
Permaculture is a whole systems design science. So it is a science that explains about how we can design entire systems. So almost everything is a system. The way you bring your food into your house and the way that the trash goes out is a system. The way that you interact with people around your house, that's a system. The way that you deal with your trash, that's a system. And permaculture design is a method of taking these systems and creating them in a way that's sustainable, but not just sustainable, it can be regenerative as well. Because permaculture design is based off of biomimicry, or mimicking life. So we look at nature for our design guides. We look at the way trees grow, the way animals interact, the way water flows through a system. And we work on designing our systems in more alignment with nature, because nature has given us billions of years of design-proof concepts. All of these systems work because they've worked for millions and millions of years. So if we can base our human systems more like natural systems, then I think that our human systems will last more than 100 years. So that's what permaculture design is about at its core. A lot of people, if you look into it on the surface level, it looks like a cool way to do farming. But I guarantee you, as somebody that's done it socially, as somebody that's done it in my house, because when I started doing permaculture, I did not have access to land. I wasn't able to do permaculture like people see it as farming and gardening. I had to do it within my house. I had to do it within my mind. And I think that once you understand that permaculture can be done to design any kind of system, not just for food or agriculture, I think that's where it becomes a superpower to people in cities.
Yeah. So, yeah. To build on that, I know that there's a lot of hoopla right now. I want to say hoopla. I want to say a lot of good energy behind food forests and things of that nature. But that's not a reality for people that don't have land. So the fact that you've been able to take permaculture concepts and apply that to an apartment, I think that's more than inspiring. Honestly, it's probably the best way to do anything. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is done for no reason. Everything has a purpose and a place that supports something else, which probably should be our entire ethos for our communities in general. But the fact that you can make that into the process of how we're growing our food and our medicine, I think that is beautiful, beautiful, and beautiful. But you have been doing this for such a long time. I feel like this is part of your nature. It just flows from you so naturally, and not a lot of people understand some of these terms. But yeah, you are I feel like you are a true investigator of so many different topics. I want to know, were you always this way? Did you have something that sparked into you? Was there a journey that happened that made you be like, you know what, I just got to tap into mushrooms?
Um, I was off rip. I was blessed by angels. Give thanks to both sides of my family: Padilla, Brown, Dantzler, all of them, Crespo. Give thanks to every single one of the people that brought me into this world. I got so blessed. I'm only 2 generations away from indigenous Puerto Rican. My grandfather was a English professor at Medgar Evers University, and he spent a lot of time instilling his life force energy into me when I was a young boy. He made sure that I was able to carry the fire for our family. He put that on me, and he made sure I knew that I had that on me. And that's why I'm like this. Like, he made me write essay about being a tactful man when I was 10 years old, and those kind of things stayed with me. So I spent a lot of time traveling when I was younger. I was definitely very inquisitive, and I got good school. Like, I got to go to good schools while I was traveling with my family, and I got to see a lot of things. So by the time I was around 15 years old, around 15, 16 years old, I was actually living in Taiwan, and I was going to school over there at the Taipei European School, and it was like too advanced for me. All the kids in Taiwan were like way more educated than I had been in the United States, so their school was like more advanced than I was engaging with. And I decided that all the stuff that I was learning in there wasn't even valuable for the life that I wanted to live anyways. And so I dropped out of school and started learning all this kind of stuff. And it was because the reason that I learned so many different things is because I've been trying to create the life that I want to live because it wasn't available to me. There was only elements of what I needed to create the life that I wanted to live. So I just started learning about all this kind of stuff, about how to grow my own food, about how to create my own systems and all this stuff, so that I can use the elements that I had available to me to create this stuff. So, like, example, I was a raw vegan at first, and I couldn't afford all the superfoods. So that's why I started growing spirulina. I was like, yo, this spirulina stuff's expensive. Somebody's growing it somewhere. I bet I could grow it. And that's kind of the pattern of behavior that got me into learning all these different things that I did, because I wanted to create that availability for myself. And yeah, that got me into mushrooms too. Yeah, I couldn't find this. Like, just like you said, I was the person that put out the first book in English on how to cultivate cordyceps. It's because I wanted cordyceps and I couldn't get good quality cordyceps because the cordyceps that was coming from China was like not good quality. They'd be like moldy sometimes. It would smell like mildew, and like I wanted fresh. I wanted to see what it was all about, and I realized that it was here in Pennsylvania. So once I learned permaculture design, which is a whole systems design, and I realized that I had to create a whole system to support my life in a way that felt regenerative and sustainable. That's what I put my head down into, and I did investigate, and I figured out how to crowdfund or literally like sleep on the floor or sleep on somebody's couch to get to these events and meet these people that were experts in these fields. I learned everything. I watched everybody's YouTube videos. I read every free book I could on the internet, and I started to go meet experts. But I went to go meet them on their playing field. Like, I think that if you have limited resources and you finally put yourself in a place to meet with a great teacher, I think it's your due diligence to know everything that they already have put out into the world, so that when you meet them and you have this experience with them, you're not asking them questions that they already answered to the public. That you're able to meet them in a way that feels more real. And by doing that, I had more real connections with a lot of the professionals that were able to like bring me under their wing in a lot of different occasions that helped me learn things more in depth. And then I just kind of started to suss out the situation, because I started this when I was like 19, 20. I started to go into all these places, and I started to recognize patterns of all the things that people said that they needed that we didn't have yet. So whenever I was younger, people were like, "Oh, I don't know what the DNA is for this mushroom. I don't know what this is." Or people were like, "Oh, we don't know what's in the like we know this mushroom is medicinal, but we don't know what's in it. We don't have the analytics." So I would hear those things all the time, like, "We don't have the DNA, we don't have the analytics," and I'm like, "All right, what's up with that?" So I just started putting my focus into these places and also following my passion, which I think is like the compass for any human being. The only way that I know all of the things that I know is because I learned all these things when I was the most passionate about them. And then you get like an insatiable desire to learn. So like whenever I was interested in cordyceps, I spent thousands of hours learning about cordyceps. When I was interested in spirulina, I spent thousands of hours learning about spirulina, not just learning about it, but actually doing it. And the same with truffles, and that's what I've been on for the past like 5 years now, 5 6 years. I've been pretty dedicated into truffles, and just my general mushroom extracts and supplement making.
Yes, yes, the cordyceps, the spirulina, the truffles. I found those very important things to dive into, and I see your mind. I really appreciate your mind because it's like cordyceps is one of those things that's super hard to find and nobody really cultivates it. So you saw a problem and decided to take thousands of hours to fix that problem and share that problem with the United States, the world really, but the United States in particular. That is very inspiring. Then on top of that, the spirulina, so nutrient rich. People talk about superfoods all the time. We're in a wellness, trend, which is a beautiful thing when people are taking their health a lot more serious and understanding the very nutrient rich items that they can consume or have a part of their daily routine. And you said, hey, I want some spirulina. You said, bump it, let me just make it. And I found that inspiring at the same time, man. So now the new thing, truffles, I feel like these are so misunderstood. And I think you've taken an incredible position and a lot of time and effort and energy to share about them and what we can do or how we can find them and how we can find the new versions here in the United States. But man, that's so awesome, though. I gotta just say this. But we're on the People's Healing Hour on WHCR 90.3 FM radio, the voice of Harlem.
WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
And we are with William Padilla Brown, the man, the myth, the legend, what I like to say, the GOAT of the citizen scientists and mycology in the United States. We were just discussing his investigations and his work and his research and his sharing of knowledge about one of my favorite medicinal mushrooms, cordyceps. They call me the people's herbalist, and obviously I use a lot of adaptogenic herbs, especially the adaptogenic mushrooms, in a clinical setting with doctors and patients, and I see incredible benefit on individuals with different ailments. Obviously, we never talk about treatments and cures here on the radio station, but if you can use parts of nature to help your anatomy and help your mind and reduce your stress levels, help your oxygen absorption and things of that nature, we can't just sit here and act like that's not happening. And cordyceps happens to be one of those top herbs for lung function and overall just immune function. But when you got into cultivating cordyceps, was it the medicinal value or was it the challenge that nobody was able to really cultivate this in the U.S.?
At first, it was more about the medicinal value because like I didn't even know much about the cultivation. There wasn't really much content. I was like a YouTube head back then, and the only cordyceps content that I could find back then was like some little clips, like news clips about people harvesting cordyceps in the Himalayan mountains, because that's like where humans traditionally have sourced cordyceps for the international market for most of the history of utilization. So I didn't really know much about cultivating them, and I got kind of turned on to cordyceps by this guy David Wolf I saw on a NutriBullet commercial in the middle of the night when I was really young, and he talked about medicinal mushrooms and stuff. So like I came at them from like, oh, I want to use these as a supplement, and I heard that this is like an energy supplement and like just the very basics of it. And somehow I sourced a pound of Chinese cordyceps before the first MycoFest, and that was my first interaction with them. And they were kind of gross and musty, but whenever I didn't have any interactions with mushrooms, if I had bad quality or good quality, I didn't really know. It took me a while of understanding because there wasn't people to like teach me like, yo, this is grade A, this is grade B, this is boof, this is mid, whatever. Nobody was able to teach me that about these cordyceps. So, but it was funny. The first time I had cordyceps was right at the first MycoFest, and at the end of the first MycoFest, somebody found a wild one, and that was the one that I cloned. And that's when I figured out. I went online to look about how to cultivate it. I couldn't find anything, and I persistently couldn't find anything until I realized that all the information online was in Thai. And if you do direct translations, you're not going to find it. You have to actually put Thai characters into the search bar, like on YouTube or Google. So I got picked up by random Thai farmers on Facebook. They brought me into their Facebook groups when they saw that I was like working on cultivating cordyceps, and a couple of them were really like my like gateways into understanding, because there was a couple of them that could talk English on Facebook, and there was a couple of them that had decent YouTube videos. And like once I knew what it was called in that language, then I was able to run it up, because cordyceps doesn't directly translate into the Asian languages and the cultures that have more experience with them. In China, it translates to winter worm, summer grass. In Thailand, it translates to gold tank leaves or gold tank rental. So if you just put in cordyceps, you're not going to find anything.
I see. That's so you have to do a whole little language barrier and jump over obstacles just to find what they call it in other parts of the world. And you was able to get accepted into, I would say, a secret society of Thai cordyceps experts, and they gave you the game, and you took this game, and you shared the game.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, like it was honestly a crazy journey, you know. And I wasn't even thinking about it all like that back then. I was just like trying to figure. I was like, it did like become like a crazy like, all right, I'm gonna be the first one. I'm gonna be the first one. Like that kind of energy definitely drove me into like being voracious about figuring it out. But yeah, I definitely had to like finesse a bunch, like do a bunch of random Google translates, and like then just start copying and pasting random Thai characters and stuff like this, and having no idea. But like once the YouTube videos started popping up, it was back in the day when YouTube was good, and it would put recommended videos on the side instead of just like commercial stuff. And then I could just like link surf. Like I could just find one video, click to the next one, click to the next one, and just keep learning about stuff that way.
That's awesome, man. So this is true science. You go and you search and you find and you experiment and you do and you make and you share. That is the epitome of what science is. And you know, we have this radio station on WHCR 90.3 FM radio. We're in City College, in a university, an incredible establishment for learning. But this is not the only place. Colleges are not the only places for people to gain knowledge, applicable knowledge that they can build upon and share with others and advance the sciences of whatever their interest is. And you have epitomized that. And I think that's awesome, because you've done this with cordyceps. You've done this with spirulina, right? Let's talk about that journey of spirulina.
Spirulina journey was crazy. It still is. I mean, I still have intention to continue growing algae and everything. But I got into spirulina when I was younger because I found out about it through, being raw vegan, and like whenever I took the route of cultivating it because I couldn't really afford to keep it in my cabinet. It opened the world to me about microalgae in general. Back in the years whenever I was interested in cultivating spirulina, it was like coming to the tail end of like a bunch of venture capital funding into algae biofuels. So there was a lot of content online about utilizing microalgae to save the world, utilizing microalgae instead of fuel, utilizing microalgae for plastics. And I got the same vibe that I got from mycology. Like when I first got into mycology, everybody's like, mushrooms can save the world. You can use mushrooms for microremediation. You can use mushrooms for materials. You can use mushrooms for everything. And that same energy was there for algae. And so I was like, all right, let me learn how to do this. So spirulina was kind of like the gateway algae for me. It was the one that was like interesting enough to get me in, and it was also the one that's easy and safe enough to cultivate for consumption without like contaminating or getting yourself sick. So it's like a really great place to start for people that are interested in this kind of thing. So yeah, I started cultivating spirulina probably back in like 2015, 16, something like that. I have a mini documentary series on my YouTube, which is the same as my Instagram, Michael Sembayo. I have a 2-part video series on how to cultivate spirulina. But I started cultivating it. I started working with Algae Research Supply pretty early on. They're a really great company that provides materials for cultivation. And then I connected with like all the spirulina growers in the U.S. because there's really not that many of them. So I got to visit a couple farms and see how spirulina is cultivated at a independent farm scale. I've never been to any of the massive farms. Like there's like mega farms that produce spirulina in the desert. Um, Learning how to do that brought me into a whole world of like collecting native algae, and I got to the point where I took an algal culturing techniques course at the Bigelow Laboratory for Marine Microbiota and Ocean Sciences. It's the National Culture Laboratory for Microalgae, and it's up in Maine. And they taught me how I can like pull a single species of algae out of a puddle. They essentially taught me how to forage algae, microalgae anywhere. Like I could pull algae off the side of a house. I could pull algae out of a puddle. I could pull algae out of a storm drain, out of a river, a pond, whatever. And I can like forage underneath the microscope and pull out individual species of algae and figure out how to grow them from there, which is an incredible superpower because all these different algae have so many different benefits. Some of them are just loaded with oil. Some of them can like eat toxic stuff. Some of them, are incredible protein sources. Some of them are great food for animals. Some of them are great fertilizers. So there's just an incredible wealth of information there. And I think that mycology is like, I tell people mycology or mushrooms are the hooked on phonics of ecological literacy because they're the exciting gem. They're the things that catches people's attention, gets people excited. And once you understand the basics, like if you start playing around with mycology and working with petri dishes and working with cultures, then you don't even know that you have the basic understanding of biosciences in general, and you can translate that information into doing other kind of culturing and other kind of scientific work. So that's kind of where the algae sparked off for me. And I know we're talking about spirulina and cordyceps and truffles and all this kind of stuff, but if we do have a second, I definitely want to blow out some information about saffron because I think that that's something that can help a lot of people.
Absolutely. We definitely got to talk about saffron because I have been harping on mental health for the last couple of months, the last few episodes. We always have a segment where we're discussing how important it is to take our mental, emotional health a lot more serious and do things actively and find resources that are truly beneficial and not just in pharmaceutical in nature, that have healing properties. There's this disconnect in understanding what mental health and emotional health is and when do we apply what. And I feel like saffron and some of the other items out here, lion's mane is one of those that I feel is at this point pretty much saturated in people's investigations. But I think saffron and the benefits of that, from the biochemistry inside of our bodies to the aromas of smelling it, there's so many different things that it can be helpful for. And I'm excited about what you have done and what you're laying the foundation for, because for saffron, I feel like I feel like you've understood this. The industry is very gray and wild, wild west, and you've decided to lay out some very key principles that we need to follow in regards to bringing this to people safely and effectively.
The deep dive into saffron started at the end of last year, and it opened up a whole world to me of information that like educated me about the herb space in general. I didn't realize how gray everything was and how many people are being taken advantage of because they don't understand, the market. There's a lot of these herbs that people are utilizing in the supplement industry are being imported from all over the world, and a lot of them come shredded up or in powders, or a lot of these things are adulterated, and I didn't realize how crazy it was until I got in the saffron market. That educated me about how adulterated the rest of the herbal space is. So definitely know where your stuff comes from. That's important. So we started experimenting with saffron and ended up producing the most potent saffron extract in the market. Still, nobody's been able to show me any data that proves me otherwise. And it starts out by utilizing the best saffron in the world. But there's so much to saffron, and I just wanted to start this next bit by saying these thoughts and everything that I'm about to express are my own personal beliefs and thoughts. and nothing that I'm saying is intended to cure or treat any disease. Nothing that I produce is intended to cure or treat any disease.
Appreciate that.
Research on it right now. Saffron has a whole history of research. Saffron has an ancient utilization. People have been utilizing saffron for over 2,000 years. It's been like 2,400 years or something like that since saffron emerged from nature, and humans been maintaining it since then. And in historical texts, there's like quotes that if you have saffron, you can never be mad, or anybody that has a big smile, it's because of saffron. Like these are translations from different languages. So it's been known for a while that saffron, has some level of mood lifting benefits. So there's current clinical studies, and I encourage people to look at them whenever they have time, or maybe utilize Google to produce summaries of these research papers. But there's research on saffron for mood. There's research on saffron for depression. There's research on saffron for PMS symptoms. There's research on saffron as aromatherapy. There's research on saffron for consumption into the body for a lot of these benefits. So I don't know how much I'm able to say on the radio, especially as somebody that makes products and stuff like this. But I do encourage people to look at the research themselves, because there's a lot of research, and it's continuously coming out more very valuable research on saffron for mood support. But like, this is a serious thing. Look into it. I'm telling you.
I 100% agree. And, we are on this radio station. We have the opportunities to share knowledge and information, and where people can grasp information, and that is the key. We're not trying to sell you nothing. We're not here as salespeople. We're here as individuals that actually care about nature and care about how humans interface with nature, and how, humans are nature, but there has been a disconnect. We're trying to reconnect people back to nature, and sharing this information about saffron, about spirulina, about cordyceps, about truffles. These are tools, nuggets for your mind, for you to look more into it and get good information. And getting good information starts with having trust in the people that are bringing you that knowledge. And I cannot think of two, not even three or one person that has more knowledge and dedication to truth when it comes to these topics than William Padilla Brown. But Will, where can people find your information? What's your website?
Mycosymbiotics.com. That's MycoSymbiotics. Mycosymbiotics.com. You can search my name, and that'll probably link you up there pretty quickly. Mycosymbiote, Apex Grower, Permaculture Poppy, all of those things will probably lead you to me. I'm on YouTube as Mycosymbiote. I actually have a documentary on truffles that I spent 3 years filming that's going to be free on YouTube starting next week, where I travel all around. I went to Spain, where it's the largest production region of truffles in the whole world, and learned about cultivation. I went to Oregon, where people have been working with native truffles in the U.S. longer than anywhere else. And all that's going to be available free on my YouTube next week. I'm on Instagram. That's where I'm most active if you want to keep up with like what I'm doing day to day. I'm on Instagram as Mycosymbiote. But yeah, I think that's all my links. Definitely check out mycofest.net. Mycofest is coming up on its 12th annual Mycofest, starting this Friday, July 31st through August 2nd, and it's going to be in Artemis, Pennsylvania. So that's about 4 or 5 hours from the city, but I guarantee you it's worth it. And we have a carpool app. There's already a lot of people coming down from the city. So definitely look into it. We have a huge community of Mycofest attendees that are all based in New York City. But yeah, that's also check out mycosymbiotics.coop if you are a cultivator or if you're interested in cultivating. We created an agricultural cooperative to support other growers, so that not everybody has to focus on the business aspects of farming, and you can just focus on the good stuff like cultivating or producing your tinctures or whatever it is that you're doing, and we can help get that out together. We're obtaining wholesale accounts, and we're working together to fulfill them. So definitely check out mycosymbiotics.coop if you are a cultivator or a producer of mycological products. So yeah, I think that's all my links.
Nice. And yeah, we're going to continue to talk about MycoFest as well. And we're going to get your links again at the end of the segment. But I wanted to at least let everybody know where they can find some information off the rip. You guys are starting y'all mornings and getting together, going to work and doing all these amazing things. You guys are blessed to be listening to this conversation with this good brother, William Padilla Brown. Has so much knowledge, so much love and consideration in all the things that he does, especially when it comes to bringing these botanicals, bringing these mushrooms, and all of the items that are considered superfoods or considered very uh, imp- important, impactful on our health and our wellness to the forefront. But Myco Fest, this is the place where you guys want to be. I'm going out there this weekend. I cannot stress how important it is to disconnect and reconnect with nature, but also be in an environment what I'd always like to call my favorite community. Right, I'm in a bunch of different circles and groups, from physicians to, just straight herbalists to the spiritual and everything in between. But the mushroom community, it seems to me, are just the most peaceful, the most inquisitive, and honestly, probably the happiest group of people. And if you want to group people together, right, they're probably the happiest in my opinion. But Myco Fest this year is going to be incredible. We just had a bunch of rain. I know we got flooded out in Queens and Harlem and all around the area from all this torrential downpour, which that's another topic of discussion, how crazy we getting tornadoes in Jersey and all of these torrential downpours. It's just a lot of rain, but that's only bodes well for our findings for Myco Fest. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of mushrooms that are popping up that people are going to find and forage and identify. And this is something that you do really, really well, identifying new species of mushrooms. And I want everybody to recognize that we see mushrooms, right, on a real basic level. They pop up. They come from a system underneath the soil of mycelium, which is really the growth medium for mushrooms. We call them the fruiting bodies. But there's so many different variations. And we haven't even scratched the surface yet on all the medicinal value that we can gain from it, and even some of the edible ones. So I'm excited about all the different minds that are coming to Myco Fest this year to share their experiences and some highlights. Let's talk about that.
Well, Myco Fest, like I mentioned, covers every aspect of mycology. Like, we bring people in to, cover their topics of what they've been researching for the year. So we got a lot of really great presenters. Some of the stuff that I'm interested in for this year, we have Alana Weiss, who's going to be talking about Neurospora, which is a really interesting mold that is orange, and it has a lot of different flavors that it can produce. And it's edible. It's safe to eat. So it's a really interesting culinary ingredient for incorporating this flavor into our foods. My buddy Rascal's coming out from the West Coast. He's based up in Washington, and he's going to be talking about soil ecology. We got the brother Mycodex coming out, which I'm really excited about, and he's going to be doing a wild fungal culturing station. So he's going to be setting up like a little lab for people to clone mushrooms that they find during the forays. We have a bunch of foray leaders take people out foraging and identify what we find. And so, not only are we going to be finding these mushrooms, but some of them are going to be brought into culture, so the story can live on through people that cultivate our findings in their farms. My buddy Jasper is coming out from Guatemala. He's going to be talking about mycological skills for the apocalypse. We got Robin Greenfield. I don't know if anybody knows about this guy, but he walked around New York wearing all his trash that he produced for a whole month or something. I can't remember. He walked across the United States. He's done a lot of these kind of viral experiments with his life, and currently he's doing a year where he only forages for his food and medicine for a whole year. So he's currently in the midst of only eating foraged food for a year. We got some good music. We got Bop Sauce coming out for some jam and bass. We got Mandy Quark, who's going to be talking about mushrooms, moths, and doing some midnight ecology. So I'm thinking that we're going to put up some moth lights and look at some insects. And she travels all around the world identifying mushrooms. The list goes on and on. There's like so many people that are going to be coming out to MycoFest this year. We have a packed schedule, and there's a lot of opportunities to go foraging this year. Since we're usually with MycoFest, I try to make it somewhere that public transportation can get to, but that does create a specific type of environment that we end up exploring. So this is the furthest away that we've ever done. Like this is the furthest off grid that we've ever been. So I appreciate everybody that's able to make it out. And again, check out that carpooling app since we do have limitations for public transit. Check out that carpooling app, and we'll make sure that we get you guys out there. But because we're so far out of the way, there's foraging in every direction, and we probably won't even have to leave the venue to go foraging. And I'm really excited to see all the diversity that we're going to find this year.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to see Robin Greenfield also. I know not a lot of people know about his journey, but this guy is, I'll tell you, he is very interesting. I think he was in finance, I believe, and he had a goal, as a lot of young people in school, to make a whole lot of money. And I think he had like one of these awakenings and say, you know what, bump all this money. I'm just going to live as close to nature as possible. And he started, as an activist, started doing things. He walked around the city, like you mentioned, wearing trash. I think he was just barefoot, walking around everywhere. And I believe he's almost a year in, where he just forages all of his own food, eats straight off the land, doesn't buy nothing, goes around, finds edible things, medicinal plants, identifies them, forages them, utilizes them, eats them, survives, showing and proving how if we have this knowledge of nature, we can absolutely sustain ourselves. And that's something, a very important piece of knowledge that we all have to realize is possible, because you never know when things get thick, when poop hits the fan and collapse occurs, because it's inevitable. Life is cycles, right? We just don't know when. Hopefully it's not within your lifetime, but you never know based on all the things that's happening. You need to gain some valuable knowledge sets and information and what to do if ... right? And I can't think of a better place for anybody to garner this knowledge than MycoFest. We're going to be in full nature, right? I like to say full nature. You go outside and see trees, yes, that's nature, but full nature, like you are in the forest. That is one of the more healing things that more healing environments we can put ourselves in. But the multidisciplinary energy that you've built around MycoFest, I think, is something that everybody should experience. It's a mushroom festival. I believe it's got to be the largest mushroom festival on the East Coast, and having people come from all over the place, all over the world, right?
MycoFest is one of the largest mushroom festivals in the world. It's one of the largest in the United States. So in the United States, the only two that really like compare with our attendance for the amount of days that we have, because there's some one-day mushroom festivals with really low admission prices that gets like a surge of people for 5 hours for a day. You know what I mean? Like they do a 5-hour event or a 6-hour event, something like this. We do a 3-day event, multi-day event. So as far as mushroom festivals that do a multi-day event, the only ones that are on this the one in eastern Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's the mushroom capital of the United States. It's where more mushrooms are produced than anywhere else. So they have like a big commercial industry mushroom festival, and I think it might only be one day. It might be a couple days, but that happens in Kennett Square, and it gets like a huge flow through of like thousands and thousands of people that just like walk through like it's like a state fair, and they're just like eating fried mushrooms and walking around looking at stands and stuff like that. It's not the same kind of experience. So for something that has a similar kind of experience, Telluride Mushroom Festival is the only other one that's in our level of how many of attendance. I've attended Telluride on multiple instances, and their attendance rivals ours year to year, and there's been years where we have more people than them. So I think that we're one of the biggest mushroom festivals in the whole United States, and one of the most like intimate, in-depth, with the most offerings.
Talk that talk, my boy. I love it. Man, it's one of the biggest mushroom festivals in the world. All right, let me backtrack. Not just the East Coast, not just the U.S., but the world, Craig. And I love it because the knowledge that comes from there, all the people that I've been able to meet at MycoFest. I remember one of the years Hamilton Pharmacopoeia was out there. We had so many really important people that I've looked and seen documentaries on and done research and seen their work, and they all come out because the value that is provided, from culinary to medicinal to identification to cloning to you name it, everything that has to do with our environmental sustainability and how mushrooms play a part in that system, you're going to find it there at MycoFest. And I guarantee you, if you have questions that you've never heard or heard asked before, you will get them answered at MycoFest, just based on all of the minds that have coming together for the elevation of humanity, the elevation of our planet, saving it from ourselves and saving ourselves from ourselves at the same time. So I'm really excited about it this year. And I know you've put so much energy and effort behind it. And you have, paved a really beautiful pathway for anybody that wants to learn about mushrooms, but also wants to build a business on helping people understand or utilize mushrooms in the correct fashion. You have opened up multiple channels, and I got to give you your flowers for this because, entrepreneurship is not an easy thing. This is one of the most difficult things, I think, in our country, to be able to effectively take an idea, make a product, package the product, sell the product, and stay within like the true benefit of the product without diluting or, cutting corners just for profitability. You have done this in a way that has multiple legs, right? There's product making. There's the education on the growing of the efficient material needed to create the products. There is, the packaging and the sales portion of that. And you've gone out, and I respect what you have done because you are a person that loves to be in nature. You don't, from my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you don't like to be with a business suit on and conducting these entrepreneur type things. This is something that you know how to do, but that's not where your sweet spot, your happy place is. And you've been able to outsource some of those efforts to other people that can hold the mantle while you're continuing to be that scientist, that researcher, that innovator, and that, that leader in this space. So, man, I just got to say thank you for that because it's very inspiring. And I want a lot of people also to follow this lead. You know what I mean?
Thank you for the flowers, brother. I really appreciate that. That means the world to me. It's part of the Genki Dama. It's part of the spirit bomb. I feel like Goku every day. I feel like the world is sharing that energy with me, and for the opportunity to, bonfire upon Babylon. Like, I'm trying to just, alchemize the situation that we've all been born into and create the systems that we all want. I want to create the reality that we all want to live in by doing that around myself and then letting that spread. So, the community that MycoFest brings is really what's enabled me to excel in the spaces in the way that I have. Once I got over my youthful pride around my business, I've been able to split it up and portion it out and start new businesses with other people, and that's where it really starts to accelerate because I do not like to wear suits and I do like to be outside more. And quite honestly, since November, I kind of just decided that I'm just going to be very disciplined, and if I don't get into the woods as much as I really want to for the next couple years, then it is what it is, because I have been such a free spirit that I haven't disciplined myself and put myself dedicated into one system to actually make my business sustainable. And I'm not afraid, as a permaculture designer or as somebody that promotes sustainability, to say it. Mycosymbiotics has not been sustainable until this year because I never put all my energy into one place. I was always doing this, I was always doing that, I was always over here, I was always in the woods instead of in the office, actually making a business that takes care of my family. I got 3 kids. So I'm at this point in my life where I'm like, I got to take it seriously. I have to make a business that's actually sustainable. So I was like, if I don't get into the woods for the next couple of years, it is what it is. It's not going to be the end of the world. I've literally had my shoes off and ran away from society my whole life. I've never had an office job. I've never worked 9 to 5. And there's people that do this every day. So I definitely can handle it if I only have to do it for a while to make everything happen that needs to happen. But by portioning it out, by working with others that have more strength than I do in other areas, and by creating businesses that benefit all of us together, that's where it really starts to work. So I kind of just like keyed in on what was the most valuable thing that I've been doing over the past 10 years, and that's making the highest quality mushroom extracts that anybody's ever seen, and getting those labs certified and tested through my community, because I found all the people over the years by doing all this work that can help me to do this. And I found them through MycoFest. They came to MycoFest. We talked at MycoFest, and now we do MycoPop. You know, we have a energy drink that's caffeine free, low sugar, made with spring water, made with my mushroom extract that my homies run up in Tennessee. We have MycoFest, which is its own business that I run with my homies now. Mycosymbiotics, one of my homies helps me run it up now. Mr. Troops Burger, I'm working on getting some investors for that, but we have a truffle burger pop-up that's going to go crazy, especially with the documentaries out and gaining popularity. Yeah, just continuously splitting up and splitting up the business in ways that make sense, because each business supports the other businesses, and then creating opportunities for other people to eat. You know what I mean? At the same time, little by little, we're going to create that world that we want to see. I'm actually opening up an artisan market in my town. So my town doesn't allow commercial businesses. You know, inshallah, this stays like this forever. Thank you, God. New Cumberland, you're a fucking amazing place. Or sorry, excuse my language. New Cumberland, you're an amazing place. But this space doesn't allow any commercial businesses, but there's no grocery store in our town. So me and my homie are creating an artisan market. And I got the space, I held it down, I renovated it, and then I ran out of money. And then my homie that farms, he was interested in helping me to pick it up. So he went in halves with me, and now we're creating an artisan market here in 4th Street in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, for anybody to come visit and check out our products. Eventually we're going to have produce, but we're going to start with our finished products and cut flowers and things like this.
That's dope. Man, making it work in your community, in your town, this is the way to do it. And this weekend, MycoFest. Real quick, Will, where can people find like the carpooling app?
MycoFest.net. Everything's on MycoFest.net, or if you're on Instagram, you can check out MycoFest on Instagram, because that's also where we keep all the information.
Nice. MycoFest.net. That's where you need to go if you want to find a carpool. Get a ride out there. It doesn't hurt to ride with others to get out to this place where we're going to have a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of good vibration, a lot of good music, just a space where you will absolutely leave refreshed. I'll tell you, as a person that have been to many of MycoFests, this is one of the greatest experiences for healing, for learning, for you to take back. You will never regret this. But man, Will, this hour is almost up, man. I can't believe how much time flies when you talking the talk that you really like to talk about. But I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge, your curiosity, your wisdom with us today. Your work reminds us that fungi and all the microorganisms underneath our feet and around us, they teach us. And they teach us cooperation, resilience, regeneration. For anybody interested in learning more and connecting with this incredible community, I highly suggest y'all come out to MycoFest this year. Check out William on his websites. One more time, your website.
Mycosymbiotics.com. That's MycoSymbiotics.com. You can check us out also at MycoFest.net or mycosymbiotics.coop. If you are a cultivator or a processor or a producer of mushroom products and you want a little bit of assistance with the business, check us out at mycosymbiotics.coop. That is an agricultural cooperative. At mycosymbiotics.com, you can find all of our products, you can find our events, and you can find my documentaries. If you're interested in checking out more of my videos, you can find me at MycoSymbiote on Instagram and YouTube. I just want to take a second. I don't know if I'm going to have it again. I really appreciate everybody that's tuned in. I appreciate you if you're listening right now. I have a lot of appreciation and love in my heart for all the human beings that are with me here on Earth right now. I personally find it very incredible and very important, and I have a lot of respect and honor for everybody that's out here on Earth right now. It is an incredible task to be alive. It's not easy to be alive right now, so I respect you for being here, and I'm happy that I get to share my life with you. For the rest of our lives here on Earth, we're all we got. You know what I mean? We'll get some new babies in here, but for the rest of our lives on Earth, we're all we got. We are all we got. We are all that we can depend on. And I thank you for being here on life, breathing, and having your heart beating at the same time as me.
Boom. Boom, man. I appreciate you, Will. Love you, brother. I'll talk to you this weekend. All right, you have a good one. And everybody, I appreciate y'all for tapping in with us on WHCR 90.3 FM radio, the voice of Harlem on the People's Healing Hour on this Wellness Wednesday. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of this day, this week, and hopefully y'all make your way out to Michael Fest. But y'all have a good one. Peace.
Welcome to the garden, where every root got a reason, every leaf got a lesson.
The People's Herbalist. Yeah, I appreciate y'all for tapping in with us.
Vibration. The people's herbalist. Yeah, back to what
Gotta
the
rock with
earth
some of
was giving
my
us.
tunes.
The people's herbalist. Real roots, real love, real medicine. Raise your cup, lift it up, plant a seed. Watch it grow. The people's herbalist. The people's herbalist. Oh yeah. I came from the soil where the wisdom stays. Grandma had herbs long before the craze.
Two. Mm. Okay. Oh yeah.
Today is Wednesday, July 29th. Expect drizzle and cloudy skies. A high of 80 degrees and a low